Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Cristiano Ronaldo. What do these three have in common, apart from being famous athletes and having lots of money? Well, they all have notable superstitions that they believe would help them perform in their respective sports. Hey there, you're listening to the Mostly Nothing podcast. I'm your host, Noel, and today I'm talking about sports superstitions, specifically what I personally believe. They're not gonna make sense, but I think anyone who plays any type of sport has certain routines, beliefs, or superstitions themselves that they go through, even if they don't realize it. But before I get to my personal beliefs, let me just talk about the superstitions of some world-class athletes have. So Jordan always wore his UNC shorts on his Bulls shorts every game, and I heard he does wash it, so don't worry. Serena wore the same socks for each match of any tournament, and if she won said tournament, she would wear them again for the next one. Cristiano Ronaldo would either be the first or last one out on the pitch, depending on the team he's playing on. So, for example, Madrid or Portugal. One of the more confusing ones, especially when you think about it, is Jason Terry's superstition. He likes to eat fried chicken before games and he wears 5 pairs of socks for the game. Not really bothered by the fried chicken thing, mostly because people get hungry, But 5 pairs of socks? Seriously? How would your feet even breathe? And wouldn't the shoes feel too tight? I mean, is the shoe he's wearing even true to size, or would he always compensate for the socks? I can only imagine him trying out every new pair of shoes he was given, and he needed to put 5 pairs of socks each time, just to make sure they would fit right. Imagine if he injured his ankles during a game and the medics needed to get through 5 pairs of socks just to check on the ankle. Or maybe that was the point. Maybe the socks acted as ankle braces instead. Now that I think about it, it kind of makes sense. Well, maybe just a little bit of sense, that is. Speaking of Terry, right across the pond, John Terry also has a superstition, although it's a much tamer one. He used to listen to the same Usher songs before each game. Not really sure which ones, but it would be pretty awesome and pretty cool that he's listening to Yeah to hype himself up every game. The less famous athlete I'm gonna talk about is Miroslav Klose, who always puts on his right boot first and steps onto the pitch with his right foot too. The main reason I'm mentioning him is because I kinda modeled one of my superstitions after this one. Although I'm not 100% sure if it was Klose or maybe someone else, but when I heard this specific superstition, something in my brain clicked. It suddenly made sense to me and that I should definitely try it out. To this day, I'm not really sure why it clicked, but when I did try it out, I had a good game. And I made sure to remember to put on my right shoe first every time since then. But like most superstitions, this one doesn't really have much of a base to stand on because it doesn't really work every time. I've definitely had my fair share of bad games, even when I followed this one every time. Now I just go through the motions of doing it subconsciously without believing it'll affect my performance that much. You know what? Let's see the science behind these superstitions and why a lot of athletes actually have them. So I guess here's what I found online and take them with a grain of salt. The first one being, superstitions create a sense of control and reduce anxiety. I guess this is mainly the illusion of control, like a belief that we could control the outcome if we routinely follow our superstitions. It basically calms the mind and helps us focus and reduces anxiety when we feel a sense of control we have through the routines or superstitions. The next one is, it's kind of like a mental switch. So when we repeat the same superstitions before every game, it actually triggers a pre-performance routine in our brains. This shifts the brain into a focused and competitive state. Have you guys heard of the Pavlovian experiment? So this scientist, he gave a dog a treat while ringing a bell each day. So he actually did it for an amount of time until at the end of the experiment, when the scientist rings a bell, the dogs automatically expect a treat, even when the scientist didn't really had any plans to give them a treat. So I guess this one is more or less the same thing that's happening in our brains. Doing our routines actually triggers the brain to switch on our focus, and it tells us that it's time to perform. The third one that I found is that superstitions boost confidence via a placebo effect. So if an athlete believes their superstition is working, their confidence will actually boost up. Apparently, being confident really does help improve motor performance and reaction time. So when an athlete finds the superstition actually works and they had an amazing performance, they'll start a cycle of belief, confidence, and good performance evolving into a superstition. So the next one is that superstitions provide emotional grounding. They become comfort tools when an athlete is having a bad run. So going back to a ritual that worked in the past actually helps reduce mental load from pressure, and it also helps to stick to familiar routines as well. And lastly, reinforces team cohesion. This one is more of a team superstition kind of thing, but still it's in the ballpark for sports superstitions. It's mostly about strengthening team bonds, which fosters collective efficacy, which is sort of the team vision of confidence, and that has shown to improve team performances. That one, or the last one, kind of reminds me of my next superstition. Whenever someone gets a new pair of shoes, they would always have their teammates or friends step on those shoes. Otherwise, that guy will suffer an injury because of them. I know this was mostly an excuse to ruin someone's new shoes, but I guess I got first-hand experience of this happening to me in my first game wearing a pair of new shoes. I actually got injured after I avoided my friend trying to step on them in the first place. It somehow has traumatized me in a way, but as the years go by, it's become more of a memory and reminder that coincidences do happen, because having a lot of new shoes through the years and almost no one took the liberty of purposefully stepping on them, nothing really happened. I guess it goes back to being a mentality thing. If I don't think or stress about it, it won't and doesn't affect my routine or confidence whatsoever. On a similar note, biting new shoes has a similar connotation to the previous one as well. Now, initially, I thought this superstition was reserved to the beliefs in my area or the area where I live, but surprisingly, through the research that I did, biting shoes is somehow a common superstition among people around the world. Anyway, this goes the same as the last one. There isn't a huge merit to it. Sometimes I bite them, sometimes I don't, and nothing really happens either way. Though it does and have affected my mentality before, and quite a bit too. The thing is, if I put into my head that I should bite a shoe, I definitely should do it. If I don't, my performance would drop until I do so. Even though I forgot about it and nothing affected my head. But if I hadn't put it into my head in the first place, it doesn't really affect anything. Though there were one or two instances where I didn't think about it and I didn't perform well in the new shoes and reminded myself to bite the shoes. And funnily enough, it did the trick and I got out of a slump. One weird superstition that I've kept believing is the state of my mustache affects my performance. I've had bad games where I've shaved off my mustache and believed that without it, I'm nothing. Then I would go on and have a string of good games while waiting for it to grow back. Then when it has fully grown back, I'd have a few good games, then bad games after. I would then decide to shave it off again and the cycle continues. The last one is mainly based on comfort. I used to believe that wearing a specific underwear helped me perform well. And when the underwear needed replacing, I just couldn't fathom replacing them. The replacements I bought just didn't feel right. Then one day while doing laundry, I just realized why I preferred those quote-unquote lucky underwear. It was a boxer brief that had longer holes. So this meant that it was more comfortable because it prevented chafing. And all my other underwear were just plain boxers or trunks with shorter leg holes. So it wasn't really that comfortable. So from that day on, my lucky underwear became lucky boxer briefs specifically, even when I bought new ones. After talking about all my superstitions, I kinda understand it now. It's mainly a mental thing to either boost confidence and reduce anxiety. It helps me or anyone get into a comfortable zone through a routine and get my head in the game. I think when I subconsciously do my routine, I subconsciously calm myself down. On the other hand, when I do notice or realize I haven't done my routine or haven't followed through with my superstitions, my mind will wander, so my focus will be off. This is one of the negatives when someone truly believes in their superstitions, I guess. It's kind of a double-edged sword in a way. Subconsciously do your routine so you aren't conscious about missing something if you did. But you still need to make it a habit in the first place so you can do it subconsciously in the future. Just so it won't bother you when you do forget something. It's kind of difficult for me to explain, but I really hope you guys understand what I'm saying here. Anyway, that's it for my sports superstitions. Maybe I'll talk about my other daily superstitions in a future episode. It'll be awesome if I could hear any of your superstitions too, but I guess that's the end of another episode of the Mostly Nothing podcast. I've been your host Noel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.